I guess now's as good a time as any to just dive into talking about the Pokemon Direct, which happened today.
And they give us a lot of information. I wasn't expecting that much.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. You never know what they're going to do because, they always have all these features to talk about. Then also, how many dozens of Pokemon are they adding this time? So they were kind of light on new Pokemon announcements, but sort of went over probably almost all of the new features were in the beginning of the game.
Right.
So out of those, what are you feeling about these? What are you most interested in so far?
All right. So I have a cheat sheet because there was a lot that I needed to talk about. So big takeaways, like I was texting you and the oldest brother, Zach, which you guys may have remembered from the last Pokemon video that we did. Immediately when I watched that first video, I texted you guys. So before I saw anything as far as like what they were explaining or anything, just the trailer, I said, "Oh, it looks like there's raids. What the hell are the giant Pokemon?" And I forget what else. The raids was true.
I was just like, just keep watching.
Yeah. The raids was true, which honestly I think that's really cool how they're doing that. There's going to be multiplayer. I mean, I don't know to what extent really, but that looks cool. Like it's a co-op kind of multiplayer where you get to battle like a gigantic boss, basically. The Dynamax mechanic looks really interesting, and we could probably dive into that like as a whole topic for like maybe 5 minutes. Gyms are back compared to Sun and Moon. And then one big thing was controllable camera. Thought that was really cool. So you get to, it's basically a full-on RPG at this point, which is awesome.
Right.
And then the other thing that this is literally speculation on my part. From the very end, the last video they showed you of the legendaries, which Team Sword all the way, Zacian looks awesome. I don't remember the other one. It's like Zametsu or something.
Zama Zen something.
Yeah.
I have to pull it up.
But Zacian is cooler anyway, so it doesn't matter. At the end, it seemed like there may be another legendary that is kind of influencing those, kind of like how Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza. I feel like there might be a bigger and badder legendary that is influencing how they behave.
Right.
Which I think is cool. That's all speculation, but that's the vibe that I got when they were talking about the reveal trailer, because it semed like they were like about to get into a fight together against something. So
and something else shows up.
Something ominous, or I don't know. I thought it was cool.
The shield guy is Zama or Zama. I don't know how you pronounce it, but we're gonna say Zamazenta.
It was Zamazenta, yes.
So and then
they announced a couple of Pokemon
that
I thought were pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of the grass one.
I like the grass one's first form. I was actually kind of disappointed when it evolved and became a sort of weird cotton ball.
Then there's the sheep, which is like meh.
The sheep is like a really nice classic design.
It's like a Mareep,
very simple.
Yeah, it's like a Mareep though.
Right.
The one that I thought was cool was the jaw one, like the bite one.
Right.
I forget what it was called, and then there was one other one that I don't know if I misheard the trailer correctly. I don't know if it's simply like how you get around, but Corviknight, the Dark Raven. Like because it looked like he was in a battle in the one scene. Right, so I'm hoping that's still a usable Pokemon, because that one is by far probably my favorite one that I saw in the whole trailer.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would be only a taxi Pokemon or a ride Pokemon, assuming that that's what they mean, that they're bringing ride Pokemon back in full force.
Right.
I mean, you hit on like sort of the main points there. I'm also Team Sword. I mean, how can you not?
He has a Zord in his mouth. Dude, that's so dope.
It's such like a classic anime thing. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. But the don't get me wrong, the character design, like when I first saw Zamazenta, I was like, oh my god, this guy looks so cool. Like he has like a full shield on his face. Looks super cool. And then you see Zacian running out of the forest with like basically a gigantic kunai in his mouth, like about to go mess him up. I thought that was so cool. So I was like, all right, this is the one I want, 100%.
So you have those guys, which are cool. Yeah, I mean, I have sort of the same opinions about the couple of new Pokemon they introduced, which is kind of all like everything you mentioned. All of them. They only did like 5 of them.
Yeah.
Which
Well, there were some that were in the trailer, but they didn't get reveal names or anything like that.
right. So that's who we know. The thing that I think is interesting about the multiplayer aspect of it is that, unless I like misunderstood it at one point, they said that you're going to be going toward, like, you'll be able to see that there is a Dynamax raid that you can run towards, and then you'll go there and then like meet up with other players there. So I'm interested to find out how that works, because it almost sounds like, okay, are you just going to go in and everybody like in that part is online and you go into a lobby and everybody queues up, or like are they all going to somehow appear in your game all at the same time and you're all like there hanging out, and then you go in and do the raid battle together. So I
Yeah.
think that has some interesting implications. If it ends up being the latter, then it's almost like, okay, well, could you just have your 3 friends hanging out with you in the wild area kind of at all times? And
Yeah.
that would be pretty interesting to me, if they did that.
Like hunting for raids. Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of, so I just dropped the term the wild area, which is a new spot that they're doing in this game, which I don't know if
I
it's
did
like,
want to touch on that.
yeah. So they described it as it's a vast, expansive land in the Galar region. I'm
You know what it
curious, like,
reminded me
does
of?
that mean that's the only place that Pokemon are going to appear in the wild, or are there multiple of those? Did they just mean that as like a generic term for the spaces in between towns?
Well, do you have the map that we can pull it up? Because it'll
Um,
probably show it on the map.
you would think, but who knows for sure.
Let's see. Galar.
Yeah. So when I look at the map, like, there's like the big expanse of like where there's a lake basically in between,
Like in that little
smaller. Yeah, like right
ravine.
in the middle, basically, like right below the big town that has like the clock tower in it, the Big Ben
Yeah,
tower. You know, so
for
like,
sure.
is that the whole wild area, and that's the only spot in the game where you can do the camera control stuff that they're talking about and all that?
Right.
Or the thing that I'm curious about is this game, like the game's scale, actually much larger than we think based on just looking at the map? Because I know a lot of people saw the map and thought, oh, this looks so small, but is the scale of it actually much larger than we're used to? And all those other little areas that are just, to us, would look like, okay, well, that's Route 5 or whatever, are those also really big expanses of land? You
Right.
know? So, and
Yeah.
that's
I
one
think
that I don't think they really covered very clearly, but
I
has
think
some
the
interesting
spot
information.
under that town is definitely the wild area because that's exactly what it looked like as
Hmm.
far as the trailer goes. Like there was all the water, there was very like minimal. There was a lot of grass around the water, and that's how it looks. It didn't look like they showed anywhere in the wild area that didn't have any like water near it. So that definitely
Well,
looks like it
there's one shot, and I don't know if this is just like a
in the
weird
desert.
juxtaposition. Yeah, there's one spot that shows like a desert and a Rhydon walking through it. So I don't know if that's like
Yeah.
those mountains, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
or if it's that other, like, there's an area that's just like looks like dirt and sand a little bit up north of there.
right.
Like
Yeah,
maybe
that's what
that's
I
it.
was.
So there's still a lot of room.
Well, there's also the spot all the way to the left, like
That's
on
also
the
true.
left, very left side of the map. That looks like the desert area. But anyways, we're diving too far into the map. What I did want to say was that in the wild area, it reminds me a lot of Breath of the Wild,
Hmm.
like as far
Breath
as
of the
like the
Wild
map
area.
design. Yeah, like how there's different corners and then a big central area. So I'm curious to see how they handle that. But other than that, I mean that the wild area looks cool.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting way to expand, on sort of what we think of as basic Pokemon mechanics. Especially giving
And
you the ability to move the camera around. And there's a spot
exactly.
where the character like shakes a tree to make berries or Pokemon, I guess, fall out of the thing. That to me opens up the possibility for more types of interaction with your world beyond just
And
walking and
also
stuff.
and also the weather changes
Hmm.
have effects on what appears in the wild and stuff. So it might not even possible. It might not even be possible during some day to, catch something. So you
Right.
do have to keep regularly checking in order to catch that one specific Pokemon you might want,
Right.
which I think is really cool, honestly. Like, I'm a huge fan of that idea.
Yeah. It makes me wonder how they're going to do, because like nowadays, with if you go to Bulbapedia, they can give you the breakdown of what percentage chance each Pokemon has of appearing. But now they got to subdivide that into, okay, well, 5% chance under these conditions. If it's raining and it's a Thursday, I don't know how specific they're going to get. Probably not days of the
And the
week.
wind is
But
blowing at a
yeah,
20-degree angle.
yeah, exactly. There's the one picture where it's raining, one where it's snowing.
Yes.
So I think that's interesting. It has a lot of different possibilities in there.
The one thing that I was a little disappointed is that we got legendaries, but no evolutions as
Mm-hmm.
far as the starters.
Yeah.
That was like my only complaint about the whole direct, but I honestly didn't actually expect that. But I did expect to see the evolutions before we saw the legendaries, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're gonna release those at some point,
Right.
Hopefully sooner rather than later, because everybody's got to choose who they want as their starter, and I know a lot of people like to wait until the very last minute. So I'm
let's
curious.
dive in.
I'm curious when they're gonna. I guess what I'm actually curious about is how many new Pokemon they have. Like there's one point in the trailer where I guess it was right before they threw to the character designer, where they were talking about like, we have new Pokemon. Everyone wants to hear about the new Pokemon. I was just waiting for them to be like, and we have 200 new Pokemon or some just like absurd number of new Pokemon. It's probably going to be like 100 or less. So
Yeah.
we'll see what they do.
Yeah, for sure.
You were going to bring up a new.
I was going to say that let's touch a little more on Dynamax, because I just kind of threw that out there without any context. And for the people who didn't watch the trailer, it's a really interesting mechanic, and it seems like the whole game's going to kind of revolve around it.
To some extent, yeah. Yeah.
So Dynamax, for the people who didn't watch the trailer, is something that you can do once per fight, if I remember correctly. And it lasts, I believe, 3 turns.
Yep.
And within the trailer, I'm sure we'll probably throw up footage of the trailer. In the trailer,
we'll see. Pokemon
right.
Company likes to block you.
Yeah, exactly. In the trailer, the Pokemon that you Dynamaxed is gigantic. It grows massively in size, but that's not the only thing that it does. It boosts all the stats, and all of your attacks are now like, so say you have Thunder, now it's Max Thunder.
Right.
Stuff like that. So it's more powerful and explosive, and it looks like the graphics for it really, I don't remember, I forget the word I was going to use, attest to that,
Right. Yeah, I think this is an interesting kind of evolution, no pun intended, of like the Mega Evolution and the Z moves that they've done before. Because Mega Evolution was also something you could just do once per battle. Z moves were super powered moves you could do. I think probably also once per battle. So this is, I think, and Mega Evolution, your Pokemon would stay Mega Evolved for the entire battle. This I think is interesting that they're like, I know it's going to be for 3 turns, so better make sure it counts.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is interesting about it, though, is that seemingly it will allow any Pokemon to do that. Which,
yes.
Like with Mega Evolution, only certain Pokemon can Mega Evolve. With the Z moves, maybe I'm misremembering, but I think every Pokemon can do a Z move, but not all of them have special Z moves. So a lot of them are just like generic moves that they can do.
Right.
This to me seems like a really economical way for Game Freak to be like, you know what, we're going to give every Pokemon a special thing that they can do, and they're just going to make the Pokemon massive and then give it some, make all of its moves special versions of their moves,
Yeah, when I saw that giant Gyarados, and then I think it was Raichu, like, she used
Yeah,
the big
Ratchet is
ball
big.
to like to do the Dynamax thing, and I was like, well, what is this? Like that's huge. And then Raichu grew like 30 feet tall, and I was
Right.
like, oh my god, that's awesome. And then
Kaiju.
what's interesting about the whole Dynamax feature is that in the raids, only one person in your team can Dynamax a Pokemon for the whole fight. So you really have to, like they said in the trailer, you really have to coordinate. Okay, who's our strongest Pokemon here,
Right.
as far as type advantage and maybe even level, so that way we can dish out as much damage as we can.
Right.
Which
And
I
again,
think is
also
really
to
cool.
be, strategic about it because you're only going to get 3 moves. So if you time it wrong, and then end up because your opponent's gonna be Dynamax the whole time. So if you mess up your timing and you do it first thing out of the gate, and then 3 moves in, you haven't beaten the other Pokemon yet, and now you're done, and then they're just gonna stomp on you, for the rest of the battle. You gotta definitely be conscious of that.
Exactly.
So I think that definitely has some opportunities for interesting gameplay, especially because so like that's in raid battles where you got to coordinate, but also the gym leaders they mentioned are all going to have a Dynamax Pokemon on their team too, so that means every time you go to battle a gym leader, you got to be prepared for okay, what are they going to throw out? I'm curious if it'll always be the same Pokemon that they make go Dynamax, or if it'll be any Pokemon, like because that to me that would be more interesting if it's like you then
Random
because then it's like
RNG.
you can look it up online and see okay this gym leader has 4 Pokemon, here's what they are, but you never know which one they're going to make Dynamax. I think that's an interesting extra level of
Like a challenge.
when yeah exactly because then you're thinking again when are you going to throw out yours because if you have type advantage on them and that you can just one shot their first 3 Pokemon with your Dynamax guy, and then they throw out the last one and make that one Dynamax, and then you're stuck because oh no, now this guy is so strong I can't beat it. So you got to think a little bit around that.
Yes, I'm excited. I think it's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm. And again, and I think it's a nice way to take what works about Mega Evolution and apply it to like a much wider, range of Pokemon. Because the other thing
Yes.
is they probably were thinking about how you can't encounter mega evolved Pokemon in the wild. You can't encounter Pokemon that can do Z moves in the wild. So them being like, how can we incorporate that new mechanic into a Pokemon that you can just encounter rather than having to fight another trainer? This to me seems like a good way to do that with multiplayer, no less.
Speaking of encounters, I know we're all over the place here, but there was just a lot of information in that direct. Did you catch the bit where it looked like the main character, your trainer, whistles when there's something in the grass, and it looks like they started to come out?
I do remember the whistle, but I forget what the context was. Yeah.
What my biggest question right now, right, is there's tons of Pokemon in the wild that look like, right? Like you can see them.
Right.
So does that mean those are catchable?
Every
Or is it
Pokemon you see.
strictly yes, or is it strictly the random encounters? And if so, does that whistle bring them out of that grass so that you know what you're about to go into in case you don't want to waste your time?
Right.
Because
So
that's what it looked like for me.
yeah, so I think that after the direct, that the Pokemon Twitter account tweeted out that let me sort of see if I can find it. They said that battles with wild Pokemon will occur when you run into Pokemon that you see wandering around, and that also sometimes you'll encounter an exclamation point icon in the grass, and you can run into that like on purpose to have Pokemon show up. So
both. You get the best of both worlds.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
it would
cool.
seem so.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like I guess like optional random encounters. You know what I mean? Because in that case, you wouldn't know what the Pokemon is, so it could be anything. It's a surprise, but you do have
And that's probably where
maybe
you'll
a
get
little
your
bit of
rare
a warning
Pokemon.
that you might be running into something. If you want to or don't want to.
And that's also probably where you'll find like your rare Pokemon, if
Right.
I'm being honest, because they'll want
Yeah.
you to, spend some time by trying to, go back and back and back.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you?
Trying to read about that last mechanic again.
Oh, the whistling.
Yeah, because I don't see any comments like about what that meant, but
That was my guess because it looked like you could see a Pokemon coming out of the grass after he whistled.
right. Yeah.
So I was that was my theory. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just my speculation. While you're reading that, along with all of that information, we also got some characters.
Mm-hmm.
We got Professor Magnolia. We got your rival Hop. You got Professor Magnolia's granddaughter, which her name is slipping my mind right now. And then you got the Pokemon champion Leon, who is this charming, supposedly guy that's like basically the biggest celebrity in the region, and he's a very lovable guy, and he's never lost in a Pokemon League in any official matches.
I like that they touched on like some of the new characters and that they're giving them like an
actual
angle,
story.
I guess. Yeah. I don't typically care one way or the other about like the human characters in Pokemon games. I know some people are super into them, and I know that like they're doing a mobile game that's all about the human characters in Pokemon.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's the Pokemon Masters, I think is what the game's called,
Cool.
where it's all about encountering famous trainers. I mean, to me, Lance is the only famous trainer that I could probably name you in the Pokemon universe. Other than that, I like that they seem to be making them interesting, but otherwise, I don't have much of an opinion.
Here's my main question: do you think that they're getting rid of the Elite Four? Because there are gyms, but there was no real mention of any kind of Elite Four.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, if there is, Leon's going to be the last fighter, more than likely. But
now that you mention it, they actually, to my knowledge, have they ever had a champion of the Elite, of not even of the Elite Four, just like a champion beyond you, like
other than your rival?
Yeah, that they've like advertised.
The first one.
Because typically they always just talk about the Elite Four, and then you end up fighting the 5th champion battle. But you never like think about who that person is in advance. I don't know. That could be interesting. I mean, I would be okay with them having some kind of like different take on it, beyond just the typical Elite Four.
Right.
So whatever their way into that is, that could be kind of fun.
Yeah. I think it would be cool.
So yeah, that Pokemon Twitter account, they didn't say anything about the whistling from what I understand, but they do have a lot of different like information that they tweeted out all day long. Like they confirmed that like the starters are all just basic type to start at least.
Right.
And then, like the grass type of Pokemon that they showed is pure grass. Wooloo is normal. Corviknight is flying steel. Dreadnought, the bite Pokemon, is water rock. So it's pretty neat.
He looks so cool. Dreadnought and Corviknight are probably my favorite, other than the legendary, obviously, because Zacian looks really, really dope.
Yeah, they did not reveal the legendary types.
Right.
Which is interesting.
It looks like probably electric, but I don't know. Or even like psychic.
Legendaries don't follow any kind of convention.
Yeah, because like his sword started glowing blue, so I don't know if that's like psychic, fairy, dark. I can't imagine it being something else.
Fairy type.
Right. I don't know. Speculation at this point.
Yep. They also tweeted about about getting a job in the Galar region and showing like clips of like stores and like a flower shop and some kind of office lobby. It's very strange. You can choose your character screen and what your character looks like. So pretty cool stuff all around. I'm excited.
Yes.
So we didn't say. So this is coming out November 15th
Yes.
this year. So they stuck to their promise of doing the end of this year.
Yes. It looks super cool. I can't wait. It's gonna be. It's only a few months out. You know, it's only 5 months away at this point, which is super cool.
Plenty of time for me to buy Ultra Sun and play it because I skipped that one.
Yeah.
I probably won't.
Yeah, no.
I won't have time because there's too much end game of Let's Go to play.
I'm not even bothering. I didn't like Sun. I'm not gonna do Ultra Sun. That's like I can really say that's like the only Pokemon game I've probably disliked. It's just it felt too tutorialized, but we've already talked about that.
Yeah, well, and that's that's something worth bringing up in this case. If we're talking about what do we want still from here, we hope that this game doesn't
it's not over tutorialized
so much. I think Let's Go did a really good job of that. So it would be strange to me, like Let's Go was sort of pitched as the sort of more beginner friendly Pokemon game. So for them to not tutorialize that one and then to come back with this one and be like, oh no, we have all the tutorials for you, would be very strange, I think.
Yes.
But we'll have to see what happens. They announced in the EU that they're getting a really cool looking steelbook with the double pack edition of the game, which apparently is not coming to the US, and I'm disappointed.
Import.
I guess I'm gonna have to. Or they're gonna do what they did. This is what I actually think is gonna happen. What they did with Let's Go was Japan and the EU got a special steelbook that you could pre-order with the game in advance. We didn't get that. I bought the game in November. In January, February, one of the two, Best Buy, I think it was exclusive to Best Buy, was like, hey, we have this cool steelbook if you come and buy a copy of Pokemon Let's Go. So I bought a second copy of the game so I could get the steelbook, and then I ended up trading it. But
right,
just don't. Why are you doing that to me again? Whose fault is that? Who do I complain to? Is it the Pokemon Company's fault? Is that Nintendo of America's fault? Is it the retailers being like, does whichever retailer they sold it to, did they say, well, we're going to hold this until later?
Right.
Because right now you can pre-order the double pack on Amazon, Best Buy, and GameStop's websites. None of them mentioned the steelbook. The steelbook was not shown at the end of the Direct, even though the EU's Direct got a picture of the steelbook during their and here's what the double pack looks like section of the video. So
I watched that one.
Right now it looks like it's not coming to the US, and that's disappointing to me.
Yeah, for sure. For collectors like you, it's a big deal.
Related, the EU and Japan also, for Super Mario Maker 2, got a special edition that came with a stylus, like a Mario Maker branded stylus.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Not coming to the US.
Yeah, you told me about that.
What did we do to not deserve cool?
We just gotta move to Japan.
Stuff.
That's all.
I guess we
just gotta move to Japan. That's all.
Well, the thing, like the Switch is region free, so I could just import it, But then I number one got to pay extra, and
yes.
Then have it not match the rest of my games, because it'll have like, the EU, the UK, I guess, PEGI on it instead of the ESRB, or if I get the Japanese version, it'll be in Japanese. I mean, it would be one thing for me to get like Chocobo Mystery Dungeon, which is only physical in Asia, on Switch. But for me to be like, oh, I'm going to import this other version just because they get a stylus that I don't get, like I just feel dumb having to do that.
Yeah.
Being pressured to do that.
For sure.
So, closing thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield.
Team Sword.
Sword Boys for life.
Sword Boys for life. That
Do we think they're dogs or wolves? I've seen some debate about that.
It looks like a wolf. It's definitely a wolf, not a dog. And there's no questions. I'm not arguing with anyone in the comments. You're wrong if you think it's a dog.
I don't know.
It's a wolf.
I think it looks pretty cute, so that's why I'm.
It does not look cute. It looks badass. Looks like a very, very angry wolf. But
I think it's meant to be a wolf, like based on the fact that I'm mostly just like joking. Based on the logos, which are very clearly meant to be, like dire wolves, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
Pokemon Game of Thrones. But they do look like good boys.
Yes.
Let's look up
the goodest of boys. 10 out of 10.
Okay, so November 15th, Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield. Be there. I'm getting Sword.
I'm getting Sword.
Gotta find.
I think Zach is getting Sword.
Zach,
we just need to force Zach into getting Shield. So that way not all of us have the same one.
Maybe I'll show Brenna and she'll see if she wants to get Shield.
Maybe.
Which one she wants. Could have bought the double pack. Pack, but it's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
Getting me Game Freak. Not getting me Nintendo.
Yes.
Pokemon Company. Whoever else got to blame. Now watch them announce it tomorrow.
So
I'll be like eating my own words.
Before we wrap things up, we mentioned earlier when you said that this is the season where you're going to be buying a lot of stuff.
Tis the season.
So what do we got going on?
So you're alluding to the convention.
Yes.
We're gonna be going to too many games, and at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philadelphia. Anybody not from the region? That's June 21st
to 23rd, I think.
1st to 23rd. Yeah, I just realized that I had the date wrong. I had it as the 25th originally, which is not the date. So good thing I realized that. Would have been the wrong day. The 21st to the 23rd. We're going to be there, I think, all 3 days, just doing stuff.
Yeah.
Out running around. If anybody's there, let us know. Maybe we'll hang out and play some games. If you've never been there before, they have like a whole room that's just different kinds of games you can play.
From classics to all the way up to the new stuff, Switch down to the NES. They have Sega Genesis. They had Dreamcasts, Nintendo 64, GameCube, all
arcade
sorts
machines.
Of games. The arcade machines, there are tons of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have some computers. Last year there was Overwatch because of the Philadelphia Fusion. I don't know if they're going to be there again this year. But if you're a big Overwatch fan, like I am, maybe check that out.
Right. There's a Smash tournament if you want to join the Smash tournament. There's actually multiple Smash tournaments.
I think I'm going to register for that, honestly. See how far I can get. See if there's any good people there that I can give a whooping.
I'm always curious, like, what's the baseline level of people that, like, I know I'm not going to win, but like, how do I compare to just like anybody who thinks that they have a chance of entering at least,
That's my biggest thing. Like, I don't know how good people are in this area. Like, I don't know if they're like, I don't think there's going to be any like pro players that are just going to join the convention tournament. Like if there was, I'd be like, I'd be more than willing to fight them to like just see how they move and see how bad or good I do against them.
Right.
But I think if it's just like normal, people that just really enjoy Smash and just have a good time and aren't training all day to be the very best, then I think I'll have a good chance. Exactly. Right. I think I'll have a good chance.
Yeah, well, it's a fun time.
If we do the double one.
Yeah. No, we talked about that. We'll talk off mic. But too many games is a good time. There's also a bunch of panels. It's a huge marketplace. I buy a ton of stuff there every year. Spence bought a Keyblade there last year.
I bought a Keyblade. It's in my closet otherwise.
I bought it out. For the video watchers, I got this little Zelda
in a
bottle there. My first year that I went. I think it's the only thing I haven't reached that I could show.
Yeah, my Keyblade's in the closet. It's massive and it's full metal, so it was really cool. Full metal Keyblade. Yeah, but I'm always surprised about the kind of stuff that we can find there. People have actually the artwork behind me I bought there actually as well. Yes.
So all kinds of fun stuff. So that's what my thing is. I sort of throughout the year make a list, and anything I don't find from like a local yard sale, is like, all right, gonna go to the convention and see what I can find. Make some.
Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, I think that we might do a little bit of recording there, not like too much, just to like cover the whole trip, not like do a video per each day, but
right.
Maybe cover the whole event. So stay tuned for that. We might do that if things line up. It might be a little difficult.
Well, the other thing I did actually mean to mention is there's also like an indie games showcase where people that are making games will bring their games to show them off. We've played some really cool stuff there previous years. I'm interested to see if any of those games are coming back for more updates.
We did mention them in some of the previous videos.
Yeah, we mentioned them before.
We did talk about this convention before, where we found those games. So
right. So I'm hoping to be able to convince at least one of those developers to talk to us about their game. Because they'll talk to you, but the thing is, we'll be able to get them, on mic or not,
on camera.
So we'll see. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. But gonna be some cool stuff. That's again June 21st to 23rd, Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. Too many games. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this clip of the Brotherly Love Gaming podcast. You can find more clips here on YouTube or check out the full audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. The audio version has some exclusive talk in it, so it's definitely worth your time. While I have you here, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming videos from Brotherly Love Gaming.